All right, welcome everyone. This is a Viper Professional Training and Support webinar. Today's date is October 14th, 2019, and this is a Monday night webinar. And the title of tonight's webinar is Lightning Identified Swings. And as everyone knows that's been to our webinars or our live trading room, everything that we say and do at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, Forex trading, any kind of financial instruments trading involves risk. Therefore, there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that is money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar. Other webinars we have, our live trading room or anything else with Viper Trading Systems, should never be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. All right. Now, just to let you know, this is being recorded tonight too, but we do have a webinar on the member link. Okay, this is on the members part of our site. You have to have the login and everything. But we do have a webinar just like what I'm going to teach tonight. I'm going to try to go more in depth than I even did on this one, because I think what happens is some people get mixed up on, which swings we're talking about, okay? Because you've actually got 3 different trends on your chart at any given moment. But the most important one for trend is Lightning 3, okay? And I want to really get that across tonight, because, if somebody gets stuck in the middle, for instance, with some of these, where the trend is still down, to give an example, but yet you take a long because Lightning, 1 goes long or something like that, you got to be careful doing that. Okay. We try to stay with the trend as much as possible. Okay. Now there's times at the open where we'll take a trade just about any direction that it decides to go. But what we're going to talk about tonight for about an hour, I don't think it'll last any longer than that. Let me see real quick if I've got this one little illustration that I usually show here. I'm normally a lot more up to date and ready to go on my webinars, as you know, by being to probably hundreds of them, and I've probably done 1,000 of them so far. But I had to hurry to get actually into this webinar tonight. Okay, so let me go ahead and switch this over, and I'll show a chart. Okay, now without looking at anything else, okay, we're not going to look at the trend right now or anything. I just want to show, what we're talking about with lightning swings. Okay, and this is important to know because, for instance, you can probably tell that you're in a little bit of an uptrend right now, okay? But what would it take to actually break this to a downtrend? Well, you've got to actually look for this. This is like your Lightning 3 right here. Now, once this is broken right here, if it gets broken, see, right now you could draw Lightning 3. I just drew it by hand, but you could draw it with the tool because it will draw it. All right. But if you look at this on an identified swing with Lightning 3, you're not heading down yet from just this high point right here. See your high, your low, your lower high. It would actually take taking this out to ever take this down. Okay. Now, when we talk about identified swings, what we're talking about is you have to actually break an identified swing to head the other direction. Okay, for instance, if you're just in this sideways stuff right here, you could draw a trend line, you could even do a little box in and stuff like that, obviously, because we don't just look at Lightning 3, but talking about identified swings, it's really important to know always where the trend could change. Well, this Lightning 3, you're right, it's not identified yet. That's what I'm saying. To be identified, this swing would have to actually do this. It would have to actually break down like this. That would be an identified swing then, if that were to happen. Okay, in the meantime, when it's not doing that, this is not a trend change yet. But you have to always look at your charts and know, for instance, I'm looking here just in case they decide to break. But I'm also looking here just in case they decide to box in, okay? Because when you're looking at this, see, you had identified swings. Does everybody in here know what an identified swing is? Real quick before I go further. Does everybody know what an identified swing is? Okay, when we talk about this, and this is just very basic as far as that goes, but it really, really works. Okay, for instance, if you had, somehow gone long off this support, and you decided to put your stop just literally underneath this area right here, that's an identified lightning one swing when it took it out. Okay, because see what's happening. Sorry about that. What's happening is you had a low, you had a high here, and you had a higher high here, which more than likely closed the bar. So if you're a really tight stop taker, and you want to protect your coin, let's say that you were long down here. You saw this was support and you decided you wanted to go long. I don't know for sure if this would have been a long without looking at the other chart, but we'll find out in a minute. Obviously, here it is. But everybody see what I'm talking about? When it comes to Lightning 3, you don't have an identified swing yet. Okay, you're not really heading up and you're not really heading down because this hadn't happened yet. Okay, let's see, Mindy. But I've been thinking that you meant it needs to be identified at the top before you could take the break of the bottom. Well, keep in mind that what you're looking at is you're looking at all three trends. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the actual chart so we can see what's actually going on here and see if we can get, probably won't do a lot of object trader tonight because I want to really teach these identified swings, and it doesn't really matter about object trader because we want to see this type of thing in real time. Okay, so let me go ahead and switch over to the chart. Let's see what we've actually got. All right, this is what we actually have on the chart right as we speak right now. Okay, all right, so if you were to draw your line just like we did a minute ago, okay, here's your, if it breaks this, they're not heading up anymore. Everybody sees that, right? Even though, basically this is kind of a double top, that's still a lower high. So if it broke this, I'd probably be looking for shorting rather than phantoms. And I've taught that before. You got to be careful with phantoms unless you're not taking out the previous Lightning 3 swing. Okay, because if you draw a Lightning 3 on this chart, let's just draw it from down here. Control key, left mouse, and there's your swing right there. So basically on Lightning 3 you have a high, you have a low, and that's a low because it takes out this high with the close of a bar. Now when it comes to Lightning 3, I personally like to take it out more like this, where it really shoots up nicely, because then when they pull back, they don't take out these swings. Okay? Yeah, and that's really important too, because when you're trading, Lightning 3, and you're watching this and you're saying, okay, this came down and gave a little area here, for instance, where it shot up, and now you've got a retracement right into support. That would definitely be a good area to buy that, right? So is this a good area to buy this? Well, obviously after the fact it is, but you see what held though? Notice that you have a Lightning 3 high, low, much higher high Lightning 3, and it never took out support. Matter of fact, it actually just hit it exactly 64. So when you see this type thing happening, all you've got to do is just get ready to box this in with Object Trader. Okay, and keep in mind, let's say you were seeing this in real time and you said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and take this trade. All right, if you're going to box in instead of buying the support level, I'd highly recommend just going ahead and putting your stop underneath the swing, even though you're going to probably feel some heat before it goes up. Okay. Now, when you box, if you're going to box and then get out, like if it comes back in the box, you got to be careful of that, because a lot of times they'll barely break out, they'll come back and check support, and then they'll start zigzagging out. Okay. Now, when you take a trade like this, for instance, then simply turn on or look at your Lightning 1, and you'll pretty much see where your swing is that's identified. Okay. And identified swing simply means that you have a high, you have a low, and you have a higher high. And it looks to me like this did close. Let me check. I like for it to close. That one went down, and that one actually went down also, I think. Let me get rid of Lightning 1, I'll tell you for sure. See that one went up right there though. Okay, so basically you have, you know, a high, you have a low, you have a little higher high, you have the same low, and then you have same high again. So basically, you know, this is just in a little consolidation patch. And the way we teach on this, you can actually take the trade off the table when it takes that out. That is if you want a tight, you know, tight stop on it. Now, if you want to trust Lightning on the left instead, okay, here's your Lightning 1 swing right here. Okay, see how it thrust up, retrace, didn't quite take out the top. This is what we consider to be your Lightning identified swing on the left side of the chart. Okay, now as this is starting to stair step and break this is actually breaking by doing a high, a low, a lower high, and it breaks this. So this is actually, if you don't want to use the left side, then use the right side when it actually breaks the support level. When you get a high, you get a low, you get a lower high, it doesn't continue up, and it takes that out. Okay, because that is stair stepping down when it does that. Just like if you look at this right here, let's go back to that other chart for just a minute. If you look at this right here, for instance, okay, if this was to break like this, then that would no longer be a higher high over here, a low, and a higher high again, right? It would be a lower high. So if it did break this, and then let's say that it, I don't know, breaks it, a good 7-8 ticks is what I normally like, not 20 or 30 because you miss out on too good a trades. But let's say that it decided to break here, a little bit more than that, something like that, and then come back and retrace a little bit, like into a predictor or something, and then roll over, then you would be looking for a short. Okay? Now, we're not looking at that right now though, right? Because we're still, let's say that you got in here and you're stopped out now. You're just simply waiting for another trade, right? Okay, so let's see if looking to the left and also at our Lightning, if we can get a little trade. All right, so basically we need to actually not come any lower than here, right? We need a higher low. Matter of fact, I'd like to see it actually bounce off this little area here and no lower than here. See, looking to the left to trade the right, like that. Okay, so if this was to come down here and anywhere between this little box right here, by me drawing this chart like this, I would probably take this trade to the long side. Okay, because looking to the left, you have a low, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low, higher, high. This is actually your ABC. Okay, so on the left, this needs to hold on a pullback. Anybody see that? Let's see, if you take it right at support, how much do you give it for a stop? Well, Mark, on your question, if you take it right at support with Lightning, now the beauty of our Lightning indicator is that until they decide to take out this Lightning 3, they're not heading down yet. So, you know, if you saw this happening in real time, you can take that trade and put your stop pretty tight. At first, I would probably put my stop just under here. See this little area right here, and then go ahead and hope that it bounces where it's at, because that's about a 7-tick stop if it bounced off of that 64. Let's see, it's already passed, but would you have taken the predictor bounce, Mindy? Well, yeah, definitely. See, this is actually also a predictor bounce, what Mindy's talking about. See, here's a predictor bounce, not quite, it didn't touch, so I don't usually, you know, take this one unless they go ahead and do like an ABC. You know, this was actually a little bit of an ABC though. See it? ABC. So if you box this and it goes your way and then goes right back against you, you can get out. Let's see, drew the box at the lower line, the next one to the right. You want to see if this one will work? We won't trade it with Object Trader, but let's just see if it comes in, and I'll tell you when I would take it. I'll put it on about 30 times. Let's see if we can get something. We got our little box drawn. Got a support level right here too. Let me draw a line. Right here. I'd take that. We'll take that. All right, we're going to put our stop for right this very moment, just right under this swing over here that's identified. And let's see if we can stay with this trade. Actually, I'm going to put it just right here instead, because that's got a hold on a pullback. So I'm willing to risk 6 or 7 ticks on it. Let's see what it does. Let's see, Louis said, why wouldn't you draw a box at 54.64 to make trade? Well, you would. This is your trade over here, but what I'm talking about, this is another trade setting up right here as we speak. Okay? This is a trade setup right here. Now, notice that it did come down and kiss the support right here. Okay? You've got another support area just right down here at 64, right? Let's see if this stays with us. And by the way, I would put my stop. Let's see if we can get a scalp at all. I'm going to say that we got in at, well, let's just say we got in at 72. Okay, or even, let's just go 73. And we'll put our stop right under here. All we want is a little scalp, which you can clearly see you got a swing right there. So I would more than likely scalp that right there if it touches it. Let's see what it does here. Our stop, though, is at 67. Okay, if we got in at 73, we just got 82, 83. There's a 10-tick scalp right there, by the way, everyone. So now I would probably put my stop just down under here, just in case this doesn't go up to the top, because you can either ride a runner with Lightning 1, okay, we got Lightning 1 turned on right here, and you could simply put your stop just right there, right where you got in. So let's say that you did 2 contracts, you got $200 bill so far, and you are retracing a little bit right now. All right, let's watch Lightning. Watch your power meter and see if it turns red, because I'll be out of this if it turns red. Everybody see, though, how quickly you can get, now if we would have got that instead of boxing it right at mid-band, we'd already had 10 ticks and then some. That's why you got to be careful with boxes, because obviously when you box in a trade, you're going to have to put your stop underneath the swing. That looks like that's going to get us. Let's see if it takes out our swing. Flat. Everybody see that? Took out Lightning swing to the left. Now, I don't care if it heads up from here now, because that made you a $100 bill, and you gave up right at cost on the other. Maybe you made 70 on it. I don't know. It kind of came back at us fairly quick. Okay? All right. Now, what are we getting right now? Anybody? You got a high, which is lower than this one. You got a lower high right here. And you could actually box this in at mid-band, by the way. All right. For instance, if this breaks here, you're in short. Put your stop just above the mid-band. Everybody see why we did that? Lightning swing. See how it broke that lightning swing right there? Okay, you got yourself 10 ticks again. Okay, that's exactly the kind of trade that Charles got in gold this morning. Remember when I was trading oil and he traded gold? And I got that trade shortly after that. Okay, but that's a 10-tick trade right there, isn't it? Pretty nice one. Okay, now notice, let me show you this chart over here real quick again. Notice that this is doing what we said it would do. See there, it's breaking 64. Okay. Now what if it just kisses like this area right here? By the way, you've got resistance right here, and you have resistance right here. Okay, so you shouldn't really go any higher than 71. If you happen to have taken the little break where I called it, where it was breaking down below the swing, you're still okay on the trade. Everybody see that? Oh, wow. Okay. Now that's a pretty good trade, isn't it? Notice how lightning identified swings is what got you the trade. Okay, you got a nice little popper. It went up, okay, but you notice that it didn't stay up. And that's what you've always got to watch with mid-band trades is that, if they don't work for you, then, if they start stair-stepping down instead, then you've got to be going the other way. For instance, when this broke 64, that was pretty much a no-brainer. But notice how it actually broke it. Look at that, almost the way I drew it even. It breaks it, kisses it, and then rolls. That's what we're always talking about when we talk about a kiss and roll, okay, is that it breaks the port and it comes back and kisses it and rolls over, okay? Now, let's look at this and see if we can figure out where identified lightning is on the left of the chart, if they happen to come back a little bit for us. Let's see what happens. We're going to draw on our chart. And they broke 64, so I don't think they're going back there again. So let's look to the left. We'll look at 57, and they haven't broken 31 yet. So we also have 55 here. See it? 55 and 57. And could you be ready if they were to decide to pull back at all and give you a trade? Well, it's definitely short now. Look at that, all 4 power meters. Okay. But let's look at our actual chart and see if we can figure out with identified swings how to trade this. Let's get rid of Lightning 1. All right, right now you notice that you can draw on your chart 57, like I said before. We'll draw that line. And we'll also draw any area that's close to that if we see it. There's 55 right over here. I should have changed that to default. Go ahead and default it at that color for now. All right. All right, so looking to the left to trade the right and identified swings. Okay, now is this an identified swing, anybody? The answer is no. Because see, notice that it didn't go below it. Now look at that. Look at that, kiss my line. Could you take that trade right there where it just came up to that mid-band and rolled over? Yes, that's a good short right there. Now, if you weren't in it just yet, if you boxed it in, you're going to pretty much have to take it when it takes out that third bar back. And there you're in it. Okay? Everybody see that? Draw on your charts. All right, now let's look and see if we can see where our next identified swing is. Let's go ahead and draw Lightning 3 first. We'll draw it from over here. Yeah, it's not drawn. Now, let me tell you something about Lightning 3. You don't go from yellow to green to green. Okay? This will have to go to a yellow. The way we did Lightning 3, it will not draw this one. Now, you could draw it with Lightning 2, okay, or Lightning 1 even. See there? Now, notice that when you get these identified swings, you've always got to look to the ABC of it. See what I mean here? Because let me draw this right here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. This makes a world of difference in your trading. You won't get stopped out very often either. Let's see if I can draw that. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Sorry. Don't want that. Want this. Come on. There we go. Okay, so you have a high, you have a low, you have a lower high, lower low. So that's an ABC. Notice that they will take out the what I call the primary. See how they barely take it out? That's why you've got to really do, like when you do the ABC, you got to put your stop. For instance, if you happen to have been, shorting this at all, you'd have to put your stop above here. Now, I'm not saying to short this right here, but I'm just saying with lightning swings, that's what it's doing. Okay. All right. Let's let this continue and see if we can study some more identified swings. Did I miss any questions yet so far? What do you do when your left is a lot lower, Gary? Well, keep in mind that, Louis, on your question, the left side of the chart, you got to always be concerned, is it the lightning 2, lightning 1, or lightning 3 that's lower? Because your trend change will be your lightning 3. Okay. For instance, when this support was broken right here, wasn't that a trend change? This is really heading down, isn't it? Monster. All right, let's look to the left to trade the right. And let's say that you were up at 1:30 in the morning. Does anybody see where this has not checked yet? Because I'd draw places on my chart if I were y'all. Okay, it has not checked here. Notice that you have a thrust down retrace like an ABC. Okay, it has not checked 31 just yet. It came close. It came really close. All right, but if you were in this trade right here, does everybody see where you could actually already tell where you could put your stop on this chart? Right now, it'd be right here, wouldn't it? 17. Because that swing is an identified swing. So your high, your low, your lower high, your lower low. So that is an identified swing right there at 16, 17. Let's see if it holds. I'll fast forward this a little bit and see if it holds. So far it's holding. Fast forward a little bit more and see if we can see if it'll hold. Look at that, drawing your charts. Everybody see that? Now notice, now this is what we call our lightning 1 or 2 even. Notice that 16 held. Okay? But what about lightning 3 or bigger swings? In other words, like thrust, retrace, thrust. What if it was to take this out? Would that be an uptrend? Anybody? And the answer is no. What would it take to be an uptrend on this chart? Anybody? Well, to me, you'd have to take out 31 and come back and kiss it, or maybe even mid-band and kiss it and then head up. So far, you're just looking at swings that if it retraces, that they should hold. Okay, let's see what it actually did. I don't trade this time of night at all. I'm usually up at 5-ish. All right, there's a little double bottom, by the way. See it? All right. Now, with what I've just taught, is that an identified swing, yes or no? No. Where's your identified swing on this chart right here? Well, it's an identified swing on the left. You're right. It is here. See your high, your low, your lower high, your lower low? Okay, it is identified there. So if you were in this trade and it double bottom like this, could you take your coin off the table? And you probably would, because when it double bottom like that and took this out or this out, I'd probably take it off the table. Okay, because that's more than likely not going to hold that 16 with a double bottom. Now it could. If it holds this 16 and heads on down, it'll hold it. But when you see a double bottom like this, I can pretty much tell you that more than likely they're going to probably fake people out thinking they're going long. They'll pull back and then they'll roll over again. Okay, let's see if we get any kind of an identified swing on lightning 3. We'll see if we get something. Okay, so we're for all intents and purposes out of our short trade, right? We're no longer in this trade because it double bottomed and it is definitely taking out swings to the left. Okay. Now, are we looking long yet, anybody? No. No. Because for instance, they could actually check 31. They haven't really checked it yet. See, they broke it, but they haven't checked it yet. They checked within 3 ticks of it, but I don't call that checked. If they're going to check it, they'll usually take it out by a tick or so or kiss it. And let's see if we can get any kind of a trade. And let's watch for our identified swings to see if we can get it. Let me go ahead and take this off. Is it okay to get out at stealth and re-enter with minimum criteria? David, on your question, yeah, if this was to decide to roll over, to give an example, could you actually take this trade? Yes. Yes. Now, the only thing that I would make a suggestion is if you get a double bottom like this right here, be very careful with mid-band trades. Notice when you get a mid-band trade and they take out the low, you're good to go. When they double bottom like this, you're not good to go, because this is not an identified swing. If you look to the left, this is more like an ABC. This is your identified swing right here. See it right there at 31-ish, 30 to 31? That's your identified swing. Because, like I say, they do them in like a 3, like an ABC type move. Now, does that mean that we couldn't, quickly try a little long trade if it breaks 16? Sure. You could. We do that all the time in the room. Let's see what it does here. It's at 16 right now. Let's see if it rolls at all. Not yet. Now, here's where I find that they fake you more than anything, is if they do a double bottom, this is not an identified swing. So what they end up doing is they'll fake some people in. Now, you could take this if this actually closes below this line, but I would put a tight stop on it, simply because when they have this identified swing over here to the left that's not identified, even though Lightning 3 drew it because of all the movement here, our Lightning 3 still drew it. But to me, this is not a long trade unless they decide to break up, easily up into this phantom area, come back and kiss, and then take off. Okay, because you're still looking at shorts right now. Okay, anytime you're seeing this stair stepping like this, you're looking for shorts. Now, if this starts going sideways for a while, you could look the other way. But this is not going sideways yet. This is still stair stepping to the downside so far. You want to see if we can get like what? I'll take that if the bar closes down. We'll just try a little scalp, see if we can take it. I'll sell 14. One more tick. See if we can get anything on it. And notice how it took out the, quote, identified swing on the left so far. Now I'd probably take it if it takes out 16 to the downside. Let's see if it works. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. All right, so we will be in at, say, 16 if it rolls at mid-band. Going to roll or not? Going to be in at 16. Stop on it's going to be just right above mid-band. We'll scalp it if we get a scalp. See, that's a classic mid-band trade. But another thing you want to keep in mind too is when you get a red background and you start stair-stepping down, okay, this is your most important one. This is actually your 80 to 85% probability trade right here. First time after a trend change, retrace to mid-band. these start getting a little bit more iffy. This is 80 to 85%. This is closer to 60%. Because see, you've already had a thrust, retrace, thrust. So you've had a big old 1, 2, 3, and you don't know for sure if they're going to decide to go ahead and pop up, pull back and kiss, and then take off. We don't know that yet. But I'm still going to short it if it takes out 16. Let's speed this up a little bit. In. Stops right there at 22. And 16, 13, 10, out. Now, could you have scalped that? Anybody? Well, I've got it going like 50 times, so we probably couldn't then. But could that be a little scalp there? Yes. So could you have scalped that trade and then just gotten it out at 16? Yes. So if you did, say, 2 contracts and it got you in at 16, it went down to 06, that was 10 ticks. Okay. Now we had it going 40 times. It was 35 right now. Let's see. I don't like to look at chart as a possible trade when it could go sideways. Thanks. How it got burned several times. Well, you can, Louis, on your question, you can definitely get burned on a trade like that. But keep in mind that that's still a mid-band trade, and we trade those all the time in that room. Now, would we have gone long yet, anybody? No, as a matter of fact, all it's done so far is just kissed resistance, hadn't it? That's a phantom trade. Matter of fact, I would more than likely take this little trade if this 31 even gets broken back to the downside with a closed bar. Okay. In. Stop's going to be at 32. Lower high so far. Stops right there at 32. And we got a 10 tick scalp. Okay. Now, do you have to stay in this trade even? Well, Louis, on your question, this is a phantom trade, remember, right here? Remember how I said this wasn't an identified swing right here at 16, and they tried to make 22, but notice that they did check 31. That's a trade that we look for right there. That's called a phantom trade. And this trade, by the way, is another one just like this one. If you'll train your mind to see this trade first, this trade second, wow. Okay, we did a good job on our trade, right? Okay. Now, does anybody in here not know what a phantom trade is? Anybody not know what a phantom trade is? A phantom trade, when it goes from long trade, see this is long mid-band, to short mid-band, to your first time into phantom. Phantom on a short side is always line 6 to line 7. So basically your little trade is right there between 6 and 7 and any kind of rollover. So you'd really be short right there on that bar rollover. Okay. Yeah, phantom trades can be really good for your bottom line. Because now let's draw our lightning 3 just for the fun of it. Let's draw it from right here. Notice how that was not an identified swing. Okay, because it double bottom. It did do a phantom. It checked resistance to the left. And we drew on our chart ahead of time to know where it was going, didn't we? Just like we do in the room every day. Okay, now, y'all want to fast forward to where we actually got in the room this morning, and we'll go over exactly how the trades were called, because they did a little bit of chop on the room. So let me go to, I'll fast forward this like 500 times so we can get to about 7 something in the morning. There's another mid-band trade. Gene, 200. Okay, now what was that right there? Anybody? That's a phantom trade. Now, this is not my favorite phantom trade, simply because it's not the first one. But if you start selling this little trade at line 6 to 7, you'll find that that can be a nice monstrous trade for you. Okay, now here's where we actually got in the room this morning. All right, let's look and see what was happening at the time. Let's draw on a chart. High, low, lower high, lower low. Identified swing, right? Just barely identified, though. Remember where I drew that line in the room this morning at 51? You also had one at 54. So draw your line at 54. And this is a little sweet spot for a short. Okay. This was right at 828. Does anybody remember what happened with crude oil after this? Remember that trade we got? Anybody have any questions on how to trade the lightning swings like this? Because these really work every single day. Every single day you can count on this actually working for you. And you've always got to look and see, what could be another area that this could change trends, to give an example. Okay, always look at your chart to see, because they don't go down forever. The thing is, matter of fact, I think we had it drawn in the room at 60 something, if I remember right. Yeah. See, that's the thing. Took it at 41, stopped, and then went back in at 41, and the trade worked out. But if you look at your lightning identified swings, you can pretty much tell, where your stops can be. You can tell where they're going to roll over. Now, like I said this morning, this was a tad on the choppy side, but remember the lines that were drawn on the chart and everything in the room? This was actually drawn here. I think we got in, if I remember right, like right here on this little, but keep in mind that some of us were already in phantom from way up here too. Remember I said that? Okay. But when they come and they kiss these lightning swings, now let's draw the regular lightning swing instead of lightning 3, because I don't want this to be too confusing at all. Let me get rid of lightning 3. All right. Let's draw lightning 2. See what they do? That's why that line was drawn in the room this morning, like that. And remember, we had another line drawn right here, which was right here at this swing at 46. See that swing right there? And this one, did bip you if you actually shorted, resistance, and it gave you a little scalp, and then it took us out, and then you got back in. And remember, we actually took 41 on the downside. All right. And this one right here, and keep in mind, if you actually shorted 41 right here, that was at least a 10-tick trade. See there where it broke support right there? And then they came back and they kissed again, which they do in the morning when you first get in. And then you had that nice monster sell-off. Okay? Also keep in mind, if you get in the room and they've been pretty much sideways before you actually came into the room, just throw on 1 if you want to, or you got to pretty much scalp it. Okay? Now let's look at this chart and see if anybody can tell by looking at lightning where your next trade is on this chart. Okay? Let's see if we can figure it out. We'll see if we can figure this out. Let's draw on our chart. All right, it's below resistance at 26. 26 right there. All right, let's go ahead and draw on our chart. All right, you got 28. You got 31. and you have 41 again, but remember that's an identified swing right there, so it probably shouldn't take that out. So, but let's draw it anyway. But see, if they go way up there, then they're way above phantom, so that's not going to do that if we're going to continue heading down. Everybody see that? So skip this one. That's not a good line, because your identified swing is right here. Draw your identified swing. All right, now you have an A, B, C. Okay, so this is an identified swing. This is your more major, what I call a secondary identified swings, which they shouldn't take out because that would change trends. See, phantom would be taken out and we would have a nice green background and everything. So I would be looking for a trade, and as a matter of fact, we called this trade in the room right in this little sweet spot right here. Remember it, everyone? 31. So if you drew on your chart and you watched what was going on, this is not a trend change until it decides to take out what we call the lightning 3 swing, and it hadn't done that. Let's see what that did. That was about 9 o'clock. All right. Notice what you're getting right here. It's kissing right at resistance. Now, could you box this in? Yes or no? Well, there's your box. It did go below line 6. All right. So let's just take the box, just in case it decides to go up higher, because it did take out our swing to the left. Okay, but we're still looking for shorts only, but we do have one more short right up in here. I'll draw 2 boxes. Like so. And let's see if we can get one of them. Remember that box we had drawn in the room this morning? And I said, don't get bipped into it. By the way, where's a safe trade on here? Anybody? If you think about a safe trade, see where you have a high, you have a low, you have a lower high. If you want a safe trade, what you'd be looking for would be a break of right here and a kiss of right here. Okay, because that would be breaking lightning too. But that's a big box. Now what we normally like to do instead is we like to get these little phantom trades or trendline trades, and we watch our resistance areas to see if we can get it. Now, could you have been, if you were long on this trade right here from down here at mid-band, could you have gotten a 10-tick trade? Because it really broke out right across here. Okay, and you can box like that too, because keep in mind you had a low, you had a high, you had a higher low, and then you took out this swing right here, so you could box it like that too. Got support right here. Could you draw a trend line on this chart? If it takes that out, could you short it? Because keep in mind, we're not changing trends yet. That would be a good trade. You remember a trend line drawn on the chart this morning? If you wanted it. So no line at the swing at the top of predictor at 19. You're talking about, are you talking about if you were to take a long trade down here when it bounced off a mid-band? Because I don't mind a trade from mid-band, but if you've got a red mid-band, usually that's not a real good thing to do. If this has been going flat for a long time, then probably yes, but you'd probably want a rose-colored mid-band. Because when this is red like this, this is flat right now, right? But it's still a red mid-band, so you're still looking for shorts right now. This is your identified swing right here at 28, and you got another resistance area right up here at 31, right here. Okay. Now, if this was decide to break up and come back and kiss, you could definitely be looking for a long. Slide the bottom line up and stop at the purple point. So right below the identified swing, there's a point down. You're talking about right here. That'd be a little bit too big of a box to me. A little higher the purple. Well, this would be a good area right here for what's a phantom trade. See, this is a line 6. Here's your line 7 area right here. I'd be looking for a phantom trade. Now, if you were trading this like right now, could this roll over right here at 28? Yes. See, it's actually kissing resistance. So could you actually box this right here? Yes. See this little sweet spot right here? But if it goes any higher, you could box it tighter. Because a phantom trade, you'd want it to go in this box and then out of this box. Let's see what actually happened. Okay, see, this is a 31. Now, would you box it like right there? And I would probably tighten my trend line too. It just kissed resistance. We drew it on our chart ahead of time. Remember, we called this out in the room this morning. We said we were looking for it to roll at 31. It went a little higher. It went to 34. But notice that, and this is something I see time and time again, and I think you'll see it too when you really start looking at these charts. See that body of that candle? It stayed at 31. The wick of the candle went up, but 31 actually held technically because a wick is not the main body of the candle, and you'll find that when they do that, they'll probably take it down. See, that's a little shooting star. Now, usually when you see something like this, you could already be short on this from line 7. Yeah, it didn't close above 31, right? But let's just say we take break of 26. We're in. Still in. Still in. Now, is that a pretty good trade? And that was called live in the room too. Now, where could you take this trade off the table? Use Lightning. Lightning identified swings will keep you in a trade for a good long time. If this takes out the low, just draw on your chart. Now, when we're looking for trend changes, we're looking for Lightning 3. But right now, we're looking for Lightning, say 1, just to give an example, is fine. Let's draw it. And there's our Lightning 2. See Lightning 1 right there, Lightning 2 right there. Still holding. Still holding. Still holding. Lightning 1, Lightning 1. Bring your stop. I'd bring my stop here even though Lightning 1 hadn't drawn yet. Identified swing, out. Identified swing, out. Everybody see that? Now, I don't care if it continues to go down because it took out an identified swing. So I'm happy with that trade to get out of it. Okay? All right, so if you got the trade right up here where we called it at 31-ish, or even if you waited for it to take 26 out, remember that was about a 50-tick trade. But you don't have to hold it to mid-band. Wow, this looks like it may be changing trends. Let's find out. Got a green background now. I would not be short in Phantom. See, when you get a green background like this, you're really not looking for a short on Phantom. Now you're looking actually for a retrace. So drawing on your chart, see that green midband? So where would you be looking for this trade? Anybody? High, low, like a micro identified swing, a little bit more secondary, and there you got your bounce. See it? Drew it ahead of time. See how easily you can get those like that? It's definitely not a bad way to trade, because if you learn to see it in real time, yeah, you want to just try for one at midband. Let's say you missed this whole thing. Notice that I drew that in real time ahead of time. You just got to draw on your charts. You got to see the swings. But if you weren't in this trade yet, what says the team? What would you do? Anybody? Well, you got to wait for a retrace because you obviously missed the trade already. All right, let's draw on our chart. Lightning, here we go. There's your lightning identified swing, by the way. Now, it hadn't drawn another one yet, but that's still identified because it took out the highs. See it? See how it took out 29 all the way to 46? So, if we're going to head up, we have to stay above this 10 area right here. Okay? Low, high, higher, low, higher, high. This is an identified swing, barely. See how it just barely took this out, but not with a closed bar? That I don't consider to be an identified swing. So if it takes that out, we're not shorting it, by the way. Okay? You would just simply stop out of your long. Okay, you're stopped out of your long. Now, let's look. Let's see if anybody can get in this trade. All right, we've drawn on our chart. We got stopped out of our long, right? Notice you got even a lower high. Support is right here. Support's also right here, looking to the left to trade the right. Just really, really close. See the little thrust, retrace thrust? Okay, so let's see if we can get a trade. Now, could you be ready to box this in? Or when it actually changes to lightning, you know, phantom trade, first time after a trend change, what about that? That is high or low so far. You want to box it yet? What do you think? Let's draw our lightning and see if we can get into it with lightning. Can't even draw lightning. It's just straight down so far. See it? Now, when they break micro like this, they're going to go down and check these medium swings. Now, if we get a higher low, they should head on up. But if they check this, they should also head on up. Okay. How many of you are actually shorting at the wrong time and not getting these trades like this? Because when this changes like this is actually the time you're looking for longs because you got a big old uptrend now. I'd be looking to buy at 10 to 12, Gene. You could, let's see. Yeah, 10 to 12 right in this area here when you draw your lines and everything. All right, let's see if we can get it. Now, it's not stair-stepping back up just yet. So no box where it is, Mindy. You could definitely put a box where it is right now, but if you did, I would put my stop under 10. And you're already at 17, so you want to try that? We'll do it with Object Trader. Let's see if we can do it with Object Trader. So you're saying basically box it in right here and go long above that swing. So in other words, if this bar closes up, we'll take the trade. All right, we'll try that. That'll be like a box being broken. All right, you're in. Look to the left to trade the right. You got resistance right up here for sure, so I'd probably do something like that. All right, we're minus 10 so far. We're back at break even. Our stop we're going to put just under 10. Close of the bar. Now that's 12 ticks against us, but that's the only way I would trade that on that little box. Let's see what it does. Now that is a higher low so far, so that is a legitimate little box, but not if it takes this little swing out where we could be actually heading down more to this 10. We'll see. We're down 50 bucks. What do you think? Oh, yeah, there we go. It could easily be a $400 hit, couldn't it, Chuck, if you put in extra contracts? What'd that hit, 11 just then? We're still okay. If it takes out 10, we're not going to be okay. See how lightning identified swings are working so far? I'm going to go ahead and add one. If power meter goes green. It bounced off support. Yeah, see, that's the thing about a box. Sometimes they will get you before they go. Okay. But that was legitimate. You know, I mean, it definitely came down. It wasn't quite to a phantom. Did I not turn that on? I'm going to take it anyway then. I thought I turned that on, but I must not have. See how support held? No, that's definitely the way to trade that. Notice if you just wanted 200 for the day, you'd already be there. Could you take one off now? Sure. Take one off and then ride your runner. Now, where would this pull back if it decided to pull back? Anybody? I'd put my stop just under the swing. Lightning identified with just the one. If it double tops here, we're going to take it off the table. What do you think? Do you go ahead and stay in something like this, or what do you think? Anybody? Could be like an alert, take some profit. Well, we're still okay on it. Actually, I see a swing over here to the left, right there. I'd put my stop just at that swing. That's pretty good though, isn't it? Could you go ahead and take the coin? Just hit a target. Could you be done? Now, what if you miss this trade entirely and you want to look and see, yeah, green and done, absolutely. But what if you said, you know what? I'm going to take another trade on this chart, but I'm going to take a trade only if it pulls back and gives me like let's say like a mid-band trade to give an example. Okay, or a predictor trade. All right, there's your predictor trade right there. It didn't quite come down to it, but came close. All right, let's draw on our chart. Identified swing, right? High, low, higher, high. Should not take this out if we're going to head back up. What says the team? It's bouncing off the predictor. I'm going to go ahead and take it. Stops just underneath the swing, exit on close. Going to add one if lightning goes green. Put my stop right underneath the swing. That's still 11 ticks though. Put my stop right here. Take one off if we get a bar closed down at all. So far it's good. Well, it took our target anyway, so we're good. Let's see, A, B, C. I'll just go ahead and see if I can write a runner right there. Everybody see how to use Lightning? Lightning works. And the beauty of trading Lightning is that if you learn to see it on all three modes, in other words, Lightning 1, 2, and 3, it'll make a world of difference in your trading. What would it take to change this trend? Anybody? Well, right now you got kind of a lower high right here, right? You got support right here at 35, right? Your identified swing is right here at 31. So what do you think? High, low, higher, high. That's your identified swing on the left. This one is a high, low, lower high, is not established just yet. Well, let's just fast forward this. We'll kill this trade. That's good enough. $500 for the day. Let's just see what this does. I'm going to fast forward it and go through the end of the day. Identified swings, 31. Identified swings, 35 and 31. Well, that was late. Tried to get that with that meter, but I didn't get it turned on in time. Everybody see why I did that? That's a phantom trade. Now, what could you do to protect yourself on this? So you have a high, low, higher, high, higher, low. Not a higher high yet, but this is getting ready to be an identified swing. Everybody see that? Now, I got in late on that phantom because I was moving it so quick, but I'd put my stop just underneath that 39. And there you go. Now you can put your stop just right under here, close of the bar. And that's pretty much at 6 o'clock tonight, so you're done. Does everybody see how to do that? All right, so you're flat. You traded phantoms. You watched your identified swings. For instance, looking at this tonight, just to give you an example, if you decide to trade later, where would this change trends? And then we're going to wrap. All right, you have a high, you have a low. So far you got a lower high, but if this was taken out, you'd probably be heading down. Okay? If they don't take this out, then they're going to head up. And, you know, I don't know exactly what they did because I ran out of data. Does anybody know? My guess is they probably went up here already, somewhere in this area, right there. Okay? So this definitely works, doesn't it? Just draw on your charts, and you'll see right where your swings are. Low, high, higher low, higher high. These are your identified swings right underneath here. So if you were in this trade from way down here, couldn't you put your stop right under there? Because that's your identified swing, and that's your second one. See, that's the same right there, so I usually go back one more. Is 35 the identified swing, Mindy? Well, what I'm talking about is on this little move up. See how it's doing this? This is your identified swing on your Lightning 2. This, you're right, is definitely your identified swing over here on the left. So your high, your low, stair stepped up. So now you have this as your identified swing. Okay? So if they break this sometime tonight, they'll more than likely take this down. But if they don't, they'll probably take it up. I don't know what it did after we, because I just downloaded a certain amount of data. But everybody see that? Nice tight stops once you're, in the money. Use your Lightning 3s to identify your trend, and then use your Lightning 1s and 2s to get in your trade. Your phantoms, these are classic areas that you want to be long. Okay, now notice we missed that one because I had it going too fast. Anyway, we still got a trade. But phantoms, mid-bands. Phantoms, predictors even, okay? And just watch when they come down on top of a previous swing like this one did here. See it thrust up, it pulled back and kissed that swing, took off. Kiss trades, perfectly hit 10 and took off, okay? So learn to do that and you'll make a big difference in your trading. Okay, sorry I took 12 minutes longer than I had planned to, but we'll do this tomorrow in the room. Yeah, and if you get dinged at all on the first trade out of the gate, just keep in mind that even if you got dinged in this little area right here where this was chopping, and I even said it was choppy, but if you were in this from phantom, you had a lot better trade than having to worry about this right here. So always, you can even be in before the room opens in the morning, short those phantoms like that, because that turned out to be a monster trade. And then you don't get in this sideways junk, where they just barely take out a low and then they try to take out the high. You just got to kind of draw on your charts and see where they're going. Okay? Thanks, everybody. We'll see you in the morning. Have a good one. Adios.